Good morning. Happy Labor Day weekend. Doing a live this weekend. I'm trying to get some content together for some videos I'm posting for this fall season. I do these lives just to get some content up that I can break up into individual, videos to watch. And my reality is I don't do YouTube because I feel I have the greatest lawn. I always say this on every opening. I'm not trying to say my lawn is the greatest, because my lawn is not the greatest. I have done a lot of research on how to properly take care of your lawn. And I feel like a lot of lawn care YouTube channels have just gone so far out there that people need to reel them back in. And especially new people that are trying to get lawns together and all that kind of stuff, they get thrown so much information from all these lawn care channels because they're always trying to put out content, whether it's, every other day, twice a week, whatever it is. And I got caught up in that when I first started doing my lawn because, about 3 years ago, I just wanted to have a nice lawn. I wanted to redo my lawn. I wanted to, put a putting green in. I wanted to have nice, fairway grass. I wanted to low mow. I wanted to do all that stuff, but I wanted to learn how to do it. I wanted to know what the good things were. And I got caught up in all these products, and I was buying them, and I was believing in these guys. And then I just found out through my own research, through soil science, scientists, soil scientists, doctors, people that have doctorates in soil science, and all these kinds of things, and just articles and conferences on grass. I mean, all these super boring things that I don't think anybody could sit through and watch, but I listened to them. And I listened to them over and over, and I started realizing that I'm wasting my money on all these products. They're not needed for a great lawn. So I stopped it and I said, well, I'm going to do a test. I'm going to just run my lawn using these products, these principles, and see what happens. And there was literally no change in my lawn. Personally, I feel it looks better doing less and using more economical products. And I don't mean economical as in like cheap. I mean economical as in just the basic products you need. You don't need these big name brand products to make your lawn look good. So that's why I started doing these videos and that sort of thing. And I do research all the time. I watch, lots of videos from researchers, like I said, doctors, scientists, people who do the research, spend years and years and years doing the research. And I'm just trying to pass that information along to, people. I mean, I know people who watch their YouTube channels that they love, that, these guys have, hundreds of thousands of followers, which is great. Watch them. If you want to believe in what they're telling you, that's fine. A lot of the things these guys tell you to do aren't going to hurt your lawn. But the bottom line is they really do very little, if anything, to help your lawn any more than basic products do. So that's where I'm at with, the information I put across. You could try it. It's not going to hurt your lawn to just try to do something, new. I mean, when you started using all these new products, you didn't know if they were going to work or not. So that's where I'm at with my lawn. And I've kind of got a breakdown of, how the whole year has panned out with my lawn, the good things, the bad things. My lawn is like everybody's lawn. I miss waterings. I have sprinklers go bad. I have all kinds of things that happen throughout the year that if you're not on top of these things, you're going to have a problem. You're going to have some grass die. You're going to have some bad spots in your lawn, whatever the case may be, weeds and all that stuff. And I'm going to talk about a lot of these topics today because it's fall and this is a good time of year to be doing some changes in your lawn if you want to make some changes, or just get prepared for the winter. those sorts of things. Everybody's talking about this. This is nothing new. I just want to pass along real basic things that you could do in your lawn that aren't going to cost you a lot of money, and you're going to get great results from it. I've been doing this for over a year now. I did it all season last season, well, almost all season. I've been doing this since June of last year, and I did it all season last season, and I've come down to just basically 2 products I'm using as nutrients, fertilizers for my lawn, and I'm using very little weed killer. So I'm going to show you these things, talk about these things today, and then I'm going to break down some videos later on this week and just post them as individual videos and stuff like that. I've really actually got a lot of things lined up on my system here. So I'm just going to talk about a little bit of everything. I'm going to talk about my McLean, the problems I've been having with it, what I'm going to be doing to it. I'm actually going to be making some modifications to my McLean. Low mowing in general. Even if you're not a low mower, these principles are going to be just the same for somebody who cuts it 2-3 inches, whatever you do. But like I say, I just want to pass along straight information. It's researched, it's documented, it's refereed in a lot of science papers, research papers. And, I know there's a lot of guys out there on their YouTube channels that say, hey, this is science-based, this is this is that. There's a golf course superintendent guy who tells you stuff. There's actually a couple of them. And I mean, everybody has their own opinion of what's right and what's wrong, but a lot of these things that some of these guys talk about are just inaccurate or overboard, something you don't need, or just not real. So let's jump into it. Since it's fall, let's get this done, because Poa annua. It's probably one of my most watched videos, and probably all YouTube channels, their most watched videos, because everybody is looking to try to figure out how to get rid of Poa annua, and now is the time to start your program. I'm going to talk about a couple of ways to do it, because if you like to reseed and do all these things every year, because that's what you've been told to do, you could do that. But some of these products you can't use when you're doing reseeding. And I found that out the hard way, because I didn't know. I was listening to somebody who told me what I should do in doing a seeding project and stuff like that. And then I didn't realize what I was doing was going to make it so I couldn't seed more if I had bad spots. So I want to talk about that. But what I'm showing on the screen right now, this is my first way. Then there's a very great example of Poa annua, what it looks like. It's these little stalks with seed heads on it. And Trivialis is a little different from this. These stalks aren't as thick. Let me pause this video, because I just kind of set it up to start. That's the first product I'm going to talk about. Let me just back up to this here. Just to finish up on this, the Poa annua, their seed heads right here, that's your worst enemy. If you start seeing this pop up in your yard, you need to start getting after it. Those seeds will live a long time. Just because they get in your yard this year doesn't mean they're going to germinate next year and start spreading. They could sit in your yard for years before they germinate and spread. So my thing is, and what I was showing here in this part of the video, was I use my weed puller. And when I start seeing this, like I've seen some in my backyard. I haven't really taken care of my backyard. So my backyard is kind of my new project I've been working on this year. And it hasn't gone the greatest, but it hasn't gone the worst. I mean, it's doing okay, but I've had some issues back there with different things of watering and whatever. I actually saw these right here. This is back in March. This was in spring when I started seeing this. And I got the puller out and I pulled it all by hand. And I thought, that would be a great way to start. I didn't want to put any weed killers down, pre-emergence, post-emergence, all that kind of stuff, because there's really not a lot of things you can do post-emergent wise. But we're going to talk about a few that you can do. Pre-emergent wise, there's a lot you can do, and that's what we're mainly going to talk about. But so I pull them out by hand. I already started pulling a couple. I found, I want to say 2 in my backyard so far. And like I say, this time of year and in the spring, I start looking for it. I look for it in my front yard, I look for it in my backyard, and as soon as I see it, I start pulling it. If it's just the seed heads, that's fine. I don't want it to get huge. And like I said, these were very, very small. They were just emerging. So I got them out of there. So that was my first method of taking care of this, is to get out there in your yard and pull it. If your yard's huge, it's a really difficult process. But you can do it if you get out there, every few days, just walk your lawn and just kind of give it a good look over. You're looking for that light green color in your lawn. And if your lawn's already light green, it's going to be hard to find it, because my putting green is bent grass and it's a very limey green. You really can't tell the difference between POA and bent grass because they're both basically the same shade of green. So if you have Kentucky bluegrass or ryegrass, whatever, it usually stands out pretty good, especially if your grass is green. And I'm assuming it's green if you're watching a lot of YouTube guys, because it's pretty simple to make your yard green. It's like a no-brainer. Anyways, so we're going to talk about our first method here, which to me, this is the most important and probably the best way to treat this. With POA, you're never, ever absolutely 100% going to get rid of POA. It's going to happen. Your neighbors are going to have it. The seeds are going to blow around. It's going to get in your yard no matter what. Pre-emergence is probably the best way to defend against POA. The bad thing about a pre-emergent is you can't do any seeding. If you use a product like this, which BioAdvanced is my favorite, this is a 5-in-1 weed and feed. This is what I have my son using in his yard. My son doesn't really do much maintenance. He barely even mows his yard. We redid it this year. And I told him to put some of this down. I said, this is going to help prevent your weeds in the winter. And it's also going to provide some pre-emergent capabilities as well as trying to tame down POA. Now, this isn't the only thing you're going to want to do to try to control POA. This is just one of the things you can do in the spring or the fall. This is the time of year it's really going to start popping out. Here in Washington, POA can pop out all year long because the temperatures just don't get that hot. So BioAdvanced 5-in-1 weed and feed. It's going to feed your lawn. It's going to kill weeds, and it's also going to prevent weeds. And one of their main things on their list here is POA. I put down what the active ingredients were in here. It's your basic weed killers, but the thiopyr down here, that is your main pre-emergent weed killer. So this is something you could do in the spring or the fall, and it's one of the best things you could probably do to start working on POA. But just remember, you can't do any seeding. This will not allow seeds to germinate, grass seeds. So if you put this down, just be aware of that's what's going to happen. So you want to do it in an established lawn. Now, it doesn't mean I don't have something for you if you don't have an established lawn. But BioAdvanced, I really like. So Spectricide, this is the second one you can use as a pre-emergent as well. It's a pre and post-emergent, and it kills a lot of weeds. It has a lot of the same weed killers that the BioAdvanced does, the 5-in-1, but this one uses a different pre-emergent. And that's the other key to working on POA. Killing POA, getting rid of POA, taming it down, controlling it, is using different types of weed killers or preventers so they don't get immune to them, kind of like we do with penicillin and stuff like that, antibiotics. So this is the same thing. This is just a weed stop. It's going to kill weeds, kill crabgrass. it's got a whole list of things in the bag that it takes care of. This is a great thing to do in the fall or the spring. And all I'm saying is you want to use either or through the year. In the fall, use one. In the spring, use another one. Just try not to use the same one over and over and over again. That's the key here. But Spectracide is one of my favorites as well. I prefer Bio Advanced a little bit more above Spectracide because the Spectracide doesn't work in the bent grass. And I don't really spray my bent grass with anything. So the other thing I want to talk about is, you can get this in granular or spray form. I prefer spray. You can get the hose-in sprayer. You can get something you can do in a backpack sprayer. I have 2 backpack sprayers. I actually have 3, but I have one that I do just for chemicals like weed killers and things like that, and then the other one I use for fertilizer. I spray everything. I feel like I have better control. I get better coverage, and I just get where I'm spraying with a nice, good, clean shot. The cons about the granular is, especially on like a weed killer, is the granule has to get on the actual weed to be watered and then absorbed in and stuff like that. And they work great and they work just as well, and they're really easy to use. But that's the one thing you have to think about with using a granular product is, how is it activated? How is it working? What's needed to get it to work? Those sorts of things. So my recommendation is, for any kind of weed treatment, is to use a liquid spray on, hose-in sprayer, backpack sprayer, those sorts of things. But you can use granule. It's going to work. They generally work fine, because with a pre-emergent, it's not about hitting the actual weed. It's about getting into the soil, because all the pre-emergent does is it stops the weed seed once it starts trying to germinate to, I believe, grow in the root is basically what it's doing. It's just stopping it from growing any further from germination point. It works on the root itself. So that's Spectracide, Weed Stop. Here, I didn't realize, but I had a little information on it. These are the bottles you can get. This is actually what I use right here. I use this bottle. It's a concentrate, and I mix it. I just spray this on my neighbor's yard, Wilson, to kind of get him a head start on POA this year. And like I said, I had my son use the Bio Advanced 5-in-1 to get on his lawn. And this is just more ways you can get the product and the information on it. Okay, so Barricade has prodiamine in it, and prodiamine is the active ingredient, and it's one of the main ingredients for pre-emergence. Barricade is just a straight pre-emergent. There's no weed killing, there's no anything. This is just pre-emergent alone. You could put this down. This is I believe this is the liquid version of it, but prodiamine is the active ingredient. Those are the things you want to look for on your bag. Spectracide does not use dithiopyr or prodiamine. Spectracide uses sulfentrazone, and I have some sulfentrazone and I use it. It's a good product, but Spectracide uses sulfentrazone, and we're going to talk about that more in this. I just wanted to show you those first 2 products because as just a regular homeowner who doesn't get really hardcore into his lawn and doesn't want to do all these hardcore things like you see on the YouTube channels, like using prodiamine and just buying straight prodiamine and spraying that in your lawn, you could just get those other products at Home Depot. Spectracide, Bio Advanced. And Scott's has a product too, but I don't talk about Scott's. I've talked about that before. I'm not a Scott's fan. I don't use any Scott's products. I just don't. So that's why I recommend Bio Advanced and Spectracide. And I'm not promoting them or trying to do anything like that. I'm just telling you the products that I've used before that I like and they work. That's all. You'll never see any link in any of my descriptions about any product or anything like that. My feeling is, when it comes to information, the information I put across, if you're really interested in trying to do something to help your lawn or work on your lawn, you're going to go find it. You're going to go search it. You're going to look it up. You're going to read the labels. You're going to make sure it's good for your yard and all that kind of stuff, because you have to read all these labels. I'm a cool season lawn guy. You watch a warm season guy talk about Bermuda, and he starts talking about all these different products to put on your lawn, and you're putting it on your cool season lawn. Oh man, you're gonna have a nightmare. Your lawn's either going to die, you're going to have burns, you're going to have problems. So it's really important that, even though we talk about products on all our YouTube channels, you really got to read the label and make sure that it's okay for your area, for your grass you're spraying it on, and all that stuff. Prodiamine, I believe, is pretty much good for all grass types. And this is a great pre-emergent for spring or fall. Pre-emergent, just remember, grass seed will not grow if you use this product. Right here, this just has all the different things it controls. You see right here, Poa annua. And that's what's most important. I mean, if you have other weeds, these are the other weeds it's gonna take care of. I think it even has a page on crabgrass it controls and stuff like that. So that's just the only thing about this screen here, is what it controls. This is just another sample of some prodiamine, a form you can buy it. Do My Own. I like this website because you can go to it, you can find all the label information in PDF form. You can click on it, you can read the whole label before you even buy it to see if there's anything on there that might not work for you in your area or for your grass type. But this goes for any kind of product. You got to read those labels, and this is where I start. I start right here, I do my research, I read the PDFs, I find out, and then the price. I'm not sure how big of a bottle this is right here. This is a granular, it looks like. It says 5-pound jug. So anyways, I'm only showing you these products because prodiamine you can find in weed preventers. I think there might be a Scott's product that has that. I'm not sure. Like I say, I use Spectracide and BioAdvance. They have two different pre-emergence things that they use. So, but this Barricade, and it's just basically another form of it. You can find on Do My Own. Here's some more Barricade. Let me see. Just to give you an idea, $33. This is a 4-ounce bottle for $33. I don't know what the rate of use is per 1,000. So that's another thing in figuring out what kind of bottle you need. But, even when you buy a BioAdvance or a Spectracide product, they're a little bit more on the pricey side because they have a lot of different weed prevention and weed killers in them, and the different prices on them, affects their total price. Sorry about that. All right, so this is Dimension, and this is dithiopyr, or dithiopyr. I have actually used this product. This is the product I use where I found out if you use it and you're trying to plant any kind of grass seed, it's not going to let your grass seed grow. And that is 100% true. Dithiopyr is just like prodiamine, it's just a different product. And these are the two products you want to use between spring and fall, and rotating back and forth on them. Dimension comes in granular and liquid form. I believe this label here is for the granular. But a lot of these products right here, you're going to find at your farm supply store, your co-op, whatever it is you have in your area. You're not going to find this at Home Depot or Lowe's. You're usually going to find it in a big jug, probably 2.5 gallons. You might be able to find it in a gallon. So it might be a little pricey at first, but it's going to last you a long time. If you have a lot of, square feet to cover, it's good to have. And like I said, you can buy this in a 50-pound bag, and it's not as bad. There's a company called Ewing, E-W-I-N-G, that we have out here, Ewing, and I can get a 50-pound bag of this exact stuff right here and use it. And I actually still have some of it. I had a 50-pound bag, and I used it once, and then I haven't used any kind of pre-emergent since then, because I just am trying to control weeds and all that kind of stuff in a different way. So dithiopyr is another great product to use for POA pre-emergent. And like I said, these are pre-emergents, so this is going to prevent things from growing. It's not going to take care of anything that's already growing. And this is just the list down here of the different weeds that they control. POA is on here somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where. There it is, annual bluegrass. It has it over here in the first column right down here. It's right down here. So annual bluegrass is just another name for POA annua. And that's kind of another important thing. It does help to know the different names of the weeds you're looking for to take care of. So here's Dimension in the liquid. That's $177 for this says 64-ounce jug. Look at that, 2.5 gallons is $832. It's expensive stuff. But I believe you don't use a whole lot of this. The other thing about Do My Own is they're going to tell you where they can't send it to. And I believe they usually have free shipping. But if your state doesn't allow it, they're not going to ship it to you. I don't have it in this picture here, but more down towards the bottom of the page, just below where it says the 2.5 gallon jug, it lists the states they won't ship it to. So you got to watch out for that. So Dimension liquid, it's got dithiopyr, pre-emergent, great for POA annua control. And just because I'm talking about POA annua, it doesn't mean these take care of a lot of weeds. That's why I'm showing the labels. They take care of lots of different types of weeds. That's why it's good to read these labels, go through these slides and look at what they actually take care of. And then this is just the 50-pound bag here. It's $50 for a 50-pound bag. So that's not that bad, and that's granular. So this is sulfentrazone, or sulfentrazone. Sulfentrazone. This is what is in the spectricide. And this is one of the pre-emergents I would use as a third product for POA annua prevention. And it would be something I use between spring and fall. Usually you'll get enough coverage out of the bio-advanced and the spectricide to cover between spring and fall. But there's a little bit of an area in between there that, it doesn't hurt to put down a third product as a pre-emergent. And sulfentrazone is a good product to use for that. I don't know if it being in a granular form. I didn't really research it and look it up, but I do know that the spectricide uses this. So between dithiopyr, prodiamine, and sulfentrazone, those are the three pre-emergents I would use. And I would be on a program. If I had POA annua really bad, I would be on a program for probably 2 years to really control this. But this is how I would control it, just every year. These are the products I would use, I would put in my lawn. I'm going to get to the products I use. I don't use these because these make it so you can't seed and all that kind of stuff. And I'm always doing some change in my yard. I'm always having an area of seeding or fixing a bad spot. My son had his dog over here a couple weekends ago, and I have 2 big brown patches. I didn't even think about it, but she went to the bathroom out there, and I have 2 burn spots in my lawn. I don't have a dog, so I don't have to worry about that. But I, at first, was like, what's going on? Just last week, I saw these brown spots, and I was like, what's going on here? What happened? and they're perfect circles, perfect pea circles. And I realized that it was the dog that probably, it was two of them, and they showed up within a day of each other, and they got worse. So now I'm trying to fix that because it looks terrible. I don't like it. So sulfentrazone is a third product for pre-emergent POA annua control. I don't know if I have the label information on this. Yeah, I do. So here's what we're going to cover. You can see right here on the very bottom. I'm not going to bend down and show you, but right down here, the very bottom of the page, POA annua. Anyways, these are the other pre-emergent controls that they do. And a lot of these products are going to give you a pre-emergent control and a post-emergent control, because these are not post-emergent control products. If you already have POA in your yard, this is not going to kill it if it's already emerged. Those are the important things I want to get across to you. But getting on a good pre-emergent program is going to be really important for you if you have a nice, great established lawn and you just want to control POA. Let's see what we got here. Okay, so here's a post-emergent. About a 60%, 70% effective. It's not 100%. It's going to kill your POA, but this is something you can use to attack POA. This is a 64-ounce bottle right here for $77. And this is something you can apply to do post-emergent control on POA. But like I said, its effectiveness isn't the greatest. It will work. I've seen people talk about it working. I do have some. I do use it. I've only used it once a really long time ago, and I haven't gone back to it because I really just don't have POA problems. And like I said, I try to kill it, get rid of it right when it emerges. And that seems to be working really well for me. Okay, so this is my big pre and post emergent that I use. And I hear a lot of people talk different things about tenacity. You know, you can believe what you want about tenacity. I've been using tenacity. That's all I use for 2 years now, maybe 3. And my biggest thing about tenacity is it kills bent grass. And because I have a bent grass putting green and I have a Kentucky bluegrass yard, the bent grass is a creeping type of a grass. So when you do cutting, when you cut it, mow it, it's on your mower, and it travels into your other grass, it can grow. And it does. I have spots right now in my yard that I'm going to start working on to get rid of the bent grass. And I've talked about this before, tenacity. I'm going to show you some, this in a couple scenes, down the road here today, and talk about it. But tenacity, I use this for seeding projects, because you could use this product when you're doing a seeding project, when you're doing a renovation, all those stuff. This is what you want to use to spray down to help prevent and take care of whatever weeds are already there. When I did my son's renovation, we used tenacity, but see, we didn't do a total kill off on his yard. We just basically mowed it down, stripped it, put a little topsoil on it, put some seed on it. It was basically like an overseed, but it was a major overseed where we pretty much overseeded the whole yard. And he had weeds in it, and we used tenacity. And in the video of that, it showed you where in a couple of days, a lot of the weeds that were there and started growing up through the topsoil layer that we put down, they were dying. And this will bleach the weeds, and they turn white. And you'll see that in a video I have coming up. But this is what I use for seeding projects. I just finished doing a renovation on my neighbor across the street's house, Doug. I sprayed tenacity. It's just what I do. I know it's only like 3 weeks of control, but on my yards, I put it down about every 6 weeks, especially when I'm going after bent grass in my yard. So tenacity you can use for seeding projects, established lawns, all those sorts of things, but you have to watch out. Tenacity, fine fescues are really sensitive to it. I have fine fescue. I have red creeping fescue in my backyard. I've done some videos on it, how I've sprayed it, and it's been affected by it, by bleaching and that sort of things, but it doesn't die. It comes back. It takes about 4 weeks. But yeah, it's going to look terrible. And that's just like when I take care of bent grass in my Kentucky bluegrass. It looks terrible and for a couple of weeks, but you come back and you do a little light dethatch or maybe aeration blade cutting, you'll get that out of there and it'll look fine after a couple of weeks and everything will fill back in really great. Tenacity is a great product to use all around as a pre and post emergent, but its longevity is not very long. But I use it and that's what I keep. Now, I came up with this a little late. I've talked about this in my first POA video. This is a study done by, I don't know, a college in Michigan. I actually just went and pulled this about 3 minutes before I started the video today. I forgot what university it was. I've read this research. It's got their findings and all their information on what they did using tenacity to control POA. Now, I am going to post this in my description later today, tomorrow, whatever, when I get to it. The 3 methods that they used in this study to control POA and kind of get rid of it. I mean, like I said, you can't really get rid of it, but at least get it under control. There's 3 distinct processes that they went through and they researched and they verified, have good effective rates. I think 80% was the biggest one. But like I said, POA, you're never really going to get rid of it 100%. But man, if you stay on top of it with pre-emergence, you can really control it really good. And then just get out there with your eyes and pull the rest that you see. You can control it really good. So I'm going to post these findings and the programs that they have. I mean, it's basically, I'll just kind of go through them real quick. In the springtime, it talks about doing it 3 times a week, 1 time every 14 days for 3 times. And you do it like on day 1, day 14, day 28, and you would use an application rate of 0.12 ounces. Now, I need to convert that to milliliters because that's how you're going to measure this out, is in milliliters. And I'm not even going to try to remember what they are. It's very small. It's like 3 milliliters or something like that. It's not a lot that you're going to use, but it's a program you're going to do 3 times every 14 days. 0.12 ounces. You just use a conversion table to convert it from ounces to milliliters and use the milliliter rate to mix it. And that's per 1,000 square feet. There's a warm season program that you can use like from June to August. It's 0.7 ounces per 1,000 feet. I'm sorry, it's 0.07 ounces per 1,000 square feet. This is the most effective control at 80%. You do it 2 times a week for 5 applications. So that's like Tuesday, Friday, and then Tuesday again. And that's it. 5 times. And 0.07 ounces per 1,000 square feet. And like I said, use a conversion chart on Google or whatever you use and convert it from ounces to milliliters. The last one is the fall application program, and it's 0.0367 ounces. I actually have it written down here, which is weird. It's 1 milliliter. 0.0367 is 1 milliliter per 1,000 square feet. You're going to do this 3 times a week for 10 applications. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then Monday again. And that's it. And that's the program. So these are studies, these are tests that were done by the, I want to say Michigan State University. I could read the thing and go through it, but whatever. And that's tenacity. That program is using tenacity specifically, which tenacity is what we're talking about right now. Pre and post emergent, we're talking about POA annua. All right, moving right along. Let's see. Okay, so this is my last thing on the POA, and I'm going to move on. Oops, I didn't pause this. So anew, this is a plant growth regulator, anew. I'm actually going to start using this next year. I wanted to use it this year, but I never got around to it. It seems like this year, the season kind of came and went really quick, but I really like mowing too. So, you know, it's one of those things, but this is what you can use to slow the growth down on your grass so you're not mowing all the time. There's lots of guys out there on YouTube that talk about different plant growth regulators. They all pretty much do kind of the same thing. They're going to slow your growth down, make it so you don't have to mow as much. Like if you're going on a big, huge vacation for a couple of weeks, might be something good to use. I've read some information on anew and other plant growth regulators. They do maybe have a tendency to do some brown tinting to your grass, depending upon the application rate you're using and the type of grass you're putting it on. That, again, is why you want to read the label to make sure it's going to work for your grass. But the biggest thing about anew here as a plant growth regulator is this is what the manufacturer says. This isn't what I say, this is the manufacturer. Oh, they call it bronzing. Where is it? Hold on a second here. Here it is. Helps evenly regulate POA in mixed stands and supports POA suppression. So all they're saying is it's because it helps slow down the growth of turf and grass in general, it's going to help suppress the seed head. It's going to suppress seed head production. And that's what anew is going to do. I haven't seen it on other plant growth regulators. This is just one I've heard about that does it. I haven't used it specifically for that, but it is a, manufacturer claim, which you have to take that with a grain of salt. I've talked in other videos. Manufacturers don't always really give you the real info on their products and what they do. A lot of them give you a lot of bad info. But this is the info that they're giving you. That's why I put it up here. It's supposed to support suppression of seed heads. And this is just kind of a video, but it was just another one where it talked about seed head suppression of POA and that sort of stuff. So that's the only reason I really have anew on here. And then the last screen just says it supports seed head suppression. So it says it all over in their literature. I would use it. I want to use it, and I don't want to use it necessarily for POA because I don't really have that problem. But this is just get back to the beginning of the video. I'm just pulling these POA things with a nice worm there. But this is basically what a POA plant's going to look like. It's really easy to pull by hand. It's got the seed head stalks right here. And then the only other thing I was selling was trivialis. Trivialis is really different. It's really difficult to get rid of. Now, there are other products that you can use to work on POA, like Velocity. I don't have it on here because Velocity is really expensive. And, if you want to spend the money on Velocity, I think it's like $600 or something, $700. And I think that's only for like a quart or something like that, 32 ounces. It's really expensive, but it's supposed to be really effective on POA. I don't use it. I'm not going to spend that kind of money. You could, but I don't have the problem, so I don't really need to spend that money. But Velocity is something that's going to work against fighting POA. I didn't put a slide on here just because it is expensive. And there is another product that's for golf courses only. It's called POA Cure. If you've got a buddy that's superintendent of a golf course, you can talk him into buying you some or giving you some if he has some. POA Cure is not available to the public, but what I'm told from the company is they're supposed to make it available to the public in the next few years. I just don't know. They just got to get permission and all that stuff. So that's that. All right, I did a nice mow last weekend, and I got some great stripes. This is my bent grass. The sun was shining really bright, and it was like the perfect time of day to get some video of some mowing, and this is my putting green. So right here, I got stimp meter, and I stimped my putting green to find out how it's rated. So the process is very simple. I just run through it here real quick. There's a little notch in this thing here. Now this is a USGA stimp meter, and it's just about rolling the ball. There's a little notch in there, and you raise it up until the ball rolls off. So you slowly raise it, and the ball will roll out and go. And then you mark where the ball lands, and then you do 3. And after I roll the third one here, so I have a starting point where I marked it, and then I have where all the balls landed right here. And now I'm going to take the average between all 3 of these points, and I'm going to mark it as the average landing spot of these. I'm going to take those other markers out, and then I'm going to measure the difference. Now, an important thing, you need to take this measurements in feet. When I was doing this, I was doing it in inches, and I was doing it in inches because everything that the literature talked about was in inches. So that's what I kind of thought was the important way to do it, was by inches. Well, when you do the calculation, it actually ends up being in feet. So I rolled 3 balls back the opposite direction from where the first balls landed. I marked them all. I got the average spot here. And then now I'm going to measure this distance from where I rolled them. And I was supposed to find a level spot in my green, but I thought this was, but it wasn't. There was a big difference between the two, because you're going to get a more accurate reading on a level spot. So I'm going to work on trying to find a better spot here. So I'm going to pause this. So this was the readings I got in inches. So I converted it to feet, and I added them together and divided them by 2, because it says take the average of the 2 numbers, and that's your stimp. And my number was 7. So my stimp meter rating is 7. And it's average. It's not as fast as I thought it was. I thought it was a little faster than that, but I think that's actually a good reading too, though. Basically, based on what I've read on stimp meter readings, stimp greens. But you know, 10 and 11 is considered fast. So this is the official stimp meter from the USGA. This is my green, my putting green. I had just mowed it, 4 millimeters. You know, I'll talk about my McLean in a second. I thought that thing can mow lower than 4 millimeters, but it literally can't. It's physically impossible for that mower to go any lower. And I can show you why that is. It's basically the bed knife. So that was stimping my front yard, my putting green. And you know, my putting green's not in the best shape right now. I'm going through a lot of changes. And I'm going to get into some yard review stuff right now. And for this season, my yard has already looked the best it's going to look. I'm going to be doing things to it that are going to make it look worse. You know, getting rid of bent grass in my Kentucky bluegrass. I'm doing a lot of maintenance on my putting green. I'm actually literally thinking of ripping it out and redoing it. I have something I'm going to do to my McLean first. I'm going to do a modification to it to see if I can work on the issue I'm having. But I'll talk about that in a minute here. So doing a year in review on my putting green and front yard and all that stuff. This is back in January when I'm mowing the putting green. And, you know, it looked really good. This is wintertime. You know, I was probably mowing it at like 5 millimeters or something like this back then. So just moving along, this is like my third season with my putting green and my second season with my McLean. And every time I mow, I always, blow the grass clippings off. That's why I end up with bent grass in my Kentucky bluegrass. So now we're going to get into kind of some of the things I've done here. So with the putting green, in April, it was looking good. I haven't really done anything to it. I'm still low and mow, and you can still see a little bit of, it's not necessarily scalping, but you can start seeing the dirt show through because it still needs to thicken up. And then back over here, I just have a terrible spot in this bottom corner down here where I've always had issues. This is May. Well, as you can see on the thing there, everything is looking great. I'm mowing it lower. You're getting a lot of sunshine. The temperatures are up. And then comes the end of May, June. I decide to dethatch and sand level it. So I remove the cup. I put a bent grass plug back in it. I had to mow it, trim it down. Got the Sunjo dethatcher out. I prefer the battery operated because I don't like having to pull a cord. And I basically use my Honda lawnmower to suck up all the loose grass and all that stuff. And just really quickly, I just did a sanding, leveling. I put some seed down and I let it go. I let it do its thing. Rolled the seed in, and here it is, July 28th. Looking really good. I just had a good day for a mow. I had the sun in the right spot in the sky. That's how you get these visuals. It's just right time of day and the right reflection off of the grass blades. It doesn't really show because this is like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. The sun is straight up, so it doesn't really show the color, but this kind of shows you a little more of the difference in color from cutting. On the left in this one, I'm sorry, I guess that would be the right. You can see the uncut grass is darker than the cut grass. And when you low mow, that's one of the things that happens. You lose that dark green color. When my grass is a 1/2 inch and taller, it's really green. I think in this picture here, that Kentucky bluegrass hadn't been cut yet. So here's the time lapse of the putting green this year. This is from when I sanded it on. And this is only a week right here. And I planted this Kentucky bluegrass down here pretty much at the same time. And it's going to be a time lapse of it growing there. But the putting green, it's had its ups and downs. I have this bad spot here, which is another issue I had when I did an extension. I've talked about that. And this is just something I'm going to work on. This is kind of one of the reasons I'm trying to think about whether I'm going to just redo the whole thing or I'm just going to put a Kentucky bluegrass strip back in here, because that's what it used to be. It used to be Kentucky bluegrass all up and down here. And I really need a turnaround spot because the putting green goes all the way to the end, to the flower bed right here. And that's just not good for a putting green. You need a spot like this to turn around in when you're mowing. And because I mow both ways, up and down, side to side, I just need something up in this area for an area to turn the mower around, so it kind of tears the putting green up when you turn the mower. So this is getting the current right here, and you just see here as I go on, I really start destroying my putting green with my mower, my McLean. So this right here is from the bed knife basically dragging on the putting green. I'm going to show you just a few minutes here what I'm talking about. But this area right here, it's probably just a little bit higher. I've always had a problem ever since I did this last June, and that would be 2024 June. I took my Kentucky bluegrass out all along here and all down here, and about 2 mower widths, about 40 inches. And I took that Kentucky bluegrass out and extended my putting green. And ever since I did that, I've had this problem right here. I've redone it 3 times and I still have this problem. I can't get this fixed. So it's really annoying me, really pissing me off. So whatever. I'm just mowing it now and just letting it go. So here I'm spraying Tenacity. I'm killing the bent grass to start reshaping my putting green and get my Kentucky bluegrass back in over here. I'm going to do that in a couple of weeks. And you're going to see here, look, here's the Tenacity starting to work on killing that bent grass. See, I did a really large area here. And here's what it looks like last night. This is all dying. So this is a little reseeding I did down in the bottom corner of my new grass seed area. It's starting to germinate. I just did that last week. This is my backyard. I kind of threw this in as the last area. We're gonna look at that in this progression. This is my bad spot in my backyard that I just can't get grass to grow. It's really, really shady, but I'm working on it again, and I feel like a sprinkler issue. I got some good germination going on there. And then this here is my backyard, and I'm fixing a couple of areas, got some germination going on some scalped areas back here. And then current picture of my Bermuda grass project right there. And then just an overall overview of my backyard. So that is the putting green. Okay, going back to January for the Kentucky bluegrass. This is kind of important because I wanted to show you this is what Tenacity is doing to the bluegrass or the bent grass on my Kentucky bluegrass. I got a couple of areas that I'm patching here and working on. This is just January 19th, just kind of showing what the Kentucky bluegrass is looking like. I mean, it's a little light. You know, it's January. It's probably in the 30s. You know, we didn't get a lot of freezing weather, but what I did was I got my plug puller and I pulled all these plugs out. I have my spare grass patch right here that I get all my new plugs from, and I'm basically just pulling all the dead bent grass out, and I'm replacing it with good Kentucky bluegrass to fill it because I was just tired of waiting. Because I did it in the winter, it just wasn't growing and growing it out. So I believe when we get into the next video, you're going to see what the effects were of me doing the plugging. You know, but the grass is coming back really good for spring here. This is March. It's still really cold. So if you can see in these, you have some really light patches of green all right in here. This is the areas I plugged and pulled the POA out. I'm not the POA, the bent grass that I had killed. And there's a couple of spots in here. You'll see, you can tell they're kind of like little dots of green. And that's just because the side patch that I pull my plugs from, it's not exactly taken care of the same way as my lawn here. So this is May. And just kind of another example of, you know, I have longer grass, you know, over here, shorter over here. It's a little darker. And here, you know, the grass is starting to come back. You're not seeing so much of the polka dotting from replacing the bent grass with the plugs. I mean, you can see a couple. There's one down here at the bottom. But all my areas I had kind of patched from, you know, March have filled in and are looking really good by May. So, you know, from May on, my yard was prime. You know, I'm out there mowing it, just trying to make it look good. Neighbors like it. You know, May 14th comes around. I'm looking pretty good. You know, mowed at 1/4 of an inch. That's pretty low. I don't know if you know what 1/4 of an inch looks like or if you've ever been on a golf course, but 1/4 of an inch is somewhere around what a fairway is. And this is just Well, that's cutting the putting green. That's after it hadn't been mowed for a while. So now May 31st came along and I did a lot of changes to my yard. I did this renovation where I raised my grass level because I put this retaining wall in. And so I cut out sod squares, raised it, leveled it, compacted it and all that stuff. And I put my sod squares back in, and then this is how it kind of turned out. It was okay, but I had some spots. It was a little uneven, so I had put some compost down over here to kind of help it. I put some seed on it and stuff like that to kind of get it level. It's looking pretty good now. We'll see it. But then I also dethatched. I did a hardcore dethatch this year. I did it 2 times, both ways, and I really thinned out my lawn. But then I also laid down a serious thing of compost. I'm going to pause this real quick. Go back. So I mixed my own topsoil. I used, and I'll probably never do this same combo again. Actually, I'm not, but I used mushroom compost, chicken manure, steer manure, and topsoil and sand. I mix it all together, and I'm going to show you that in one of my slides coming up. I mix it all together. I laid it down here in a really thick coat, and here's what happened. It's basically 2 weeks later. This is after a mow. And this is the putting green. I had already showed the sanding of it, but this is what the putting green looked like after sanding and leveling it. It was looking really good. Here's June 29th. Again, showing you the contrast between the uncut and the cut grass. It's a difference in color. I mean, not a whole lot, but there's a little bit. But still nice, deep, dark green. And this is kind of what it looks with the full sun beating down on it. It's at high noon. Same thing here. This is not quite high noon. This is probably 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But and this is after I changed my bed knife, and I was starting to get some scalping and stuff. It's actually not scalping. It's actually the bed knife dragging. So that's the front yard, backyard. So this is Jason. I met Jason by just saying, hey man, he was walking by. He's like, hey man, that looks like a lot of work. I said, yes, it is a lot of work. I'm glad you showed up to help out. I got a shovel and a rake over here. You want to go ahead and help me out? And I was just kidding. That freaking guy jumped off his bike, got in my lawn, and helped me clean up all this mess when I did sod cutting for like 4 hours. And we've been friends ever since. He comes over and helps me out a lot. I help him out a lot with working on his car and stuff like that. So this is what my backyard looked like when I decided to just do a whole renovation. I wanted to get rid of these fruit trees. I was tired of them. I had a peach tree and a pear tree, or 2 peaches and 1 pear. And it was just a mess because they grew so much fruit, and they would just, most of it would end up on the ground. So we pulled all these stumps out. Me and Jason, took us about half a day. We pulled 5 stumps out because we decided to take out this flowering pear tree. And I went to town. And this was the big project I did this year in my backyard. My front yard, I did the retaining wall project. So I've done a couple of really big projects this year. This one I started in March. Me and Jason pulled those stumps out, and I just kept working on it every weekend, or when I could, when it wasn't raining, because it rains a lot in Washington. So I'm just kind of prepping it and getting it ready to do some seed. I'm leveling it, I'm putting soil in it, I'm loosening it, I'm raking it. I'm just trying to make it so that it's going to be in the best shape possible. Made a few mistakes that I didn't think about. There's a crown up at the top here, And here's me laying down the seed, but there's a little crown right here, and I have a problem. My mower's bottom out scalp right there. So I'm trying to deal with that, and that corner is really shady too, man. The grass just doesn't like growing back there. It's really wet. I'm trying to control the sprinklers on it. So when I laid the seed down, I just raked it in, just drug the rake over it just to kind of get it into the soil a little bit. And then after I raked it, I came back and I rolled it, and I did a much larger area than just my new area right here. I also did like a little overseed on some of my Kentucky bluegrass that wasn't doing that great. Here's a time lapse of that area where the trees were. This is a red creeping fescue, and it's a fine fescue, so it's not like your regular tall fescue. It's more for shade, and that's why I got it and put it there. It doesn't really like the heat. You can see down here I'm having some problems with the heat of the day kind of just killing it, and my watering schedule was up and down because it would be hot one week, cold the next week, and I would forget to turn the water back up after turning it down. And this is the other side of my yard where I'd done some reseeding, and this has just been my other kind of problem area. Trying to get the red creeping fescue to grow down here in this corner, but again, this corner is, I mean, you can see by the time lapse, there is no sun that hits this corner. Now, maybe in the deep of summer, like this time right here, a little sun's going to start hitting it, but it's only for a couple of days. So I really tried to work hard on getting this area to grow, and what I found was, and what I believe the problem is, the water. I had a sprinkler head up there, and I've talked about that in another video. I had a sprinkler head up there that was just getting too much water in that area for the amount of light it gets, and it was just always soaking wet. And I took that sprinkler out and adjusted it and put a new one in somewhere else. So this is just kind of what it looked like back in just like June after doing that project and stuff like that. I mean, it came in pretty well. This is like July. And I had never really taken care of my backyard before, so I decided this year I was going to start doing it, but I'm also mowing it at 1/4 inch, like 8 millimeters. And that's pretty low. I was cutting it at like almost 1 inch before. This is the front yard right here. Just added a couple extra pictures. I don't know why, but I did. And that's the front yard and what it looked like. So there was what my backyard looked like in March. And it was a big mess. Okay, Bermuda project update. I sped this up a lot. You know, we showed this video before. Bermuda grass, I ordered the plugs. I put them in. I killed some of it with some glyphosate. So I got some more, put some more in. And this is the close-up time lapse of it growing. It seems like it's kind of stalled here in August. I mean, it's been really warm, but it's not growing in as well as it was. This is my wider view time lapse, and it doesn't have a date on it, so I really don't know, but this is just kind of where it is right now. And I'm mowing this at 1/4 inch, 8 millimeters as well. So I was hoping it was going to all fill in by the end of this season, but because I sprayed glyphosate and I killed an area right here, I slowed the growth progress down by having to add more plugs. The plugs I got, man, they were terrible. They were in bad shape. And the one thing I haven't mentioned, this is Tahoma 31. You know, the only reason I bought this, and maybe this is a little trivia fact for you, you know, Mount Rainier is actually called Mount Tahoma. That's what the Indians called it back in the day, as far as I understand. I mean, it's what I've heard. It's what I've read. So when I saw this Bermuda grass is Tahoma 31, I was like, oh, Tahoma, oh, cool. Okay, we'll get that and we'll put that in here. Maybe it'll grow great because we live by Mount Rainier, which is Mount Tahoma. I don't know. It's supposed to be a better shade growing grass from the information I saw, and it's supposed to handle the cooler temperatures a little bit more. I'm kind of thinking, I don't know, maybe not, because I can't get any Bermuda grass to really grow and spread in the very back here by the fence. I don't really have a very good picture of it, but that's Tahoma 31, and I have it, you know, with my Kentucky bluegrass on one side, and I just do a edge on it. So moving on to my shaker, I got this dirt here, and it was really terrible. And my buddy Casey at work, he hooked me up with this concrete vibrating motor, and I put it on my screen. This is my screen I made by hand, to hand screen dirt and stuff like that. It took forever. And man, this thing worked really great. But the problem was, this dirt had so much rocks in it that when I was spreading it, that's gonna kill my mower. And so I sifted it before I put it on my lawns. And man, it was a process, because this isn't a huge shaker. And there was a lot of rocks. I mean, look at this. This is only like a couple of shovelfuls that I put through here. And look at all those rocks I got out of it. The good news is in doing my neighbor Doug's renovation this weekend, he found a new place to get dirt, and he brought me back a sample of it and showed it to me. So here's me screening some grass clumps. It works good for screening grass clumps, but when you're screening wet material, it's a lot more difficult. It's slow. Dry material, it works really great. But anyways, my neighbor found a new supplier of some soil, 3-way topsoil mix. It looked really good, and we did it on his yard. And that's a project I'm going to show you once it's all complete, as far as grown in and all that kind of stuff. You know, when I do a video, I try to do the video from finish to end. I don't try to do updates on it as it goes through and all that kind of stuff. So this is what I wanted to talk about with this video here. Shaker, great thing, vibrating motor, all that kind of stuff. It makes it really easy to make your own topsoil, and that's what I'm doing right here. This is my topsoil mix that I made for my dethatching I did back in June, when I had my whole yard covered with this. And I basically just dumped my chicken manure, steer manure, mushroom compost, and topsoil and sand. I mean, I had bought a whole bunch of bags of different types of soil, compost and things like that. I won't ever use mushroom compost again, because everywhere I put this, which is only in the front part of my yard, I get mushrooms. And I know mushrooms come from watering and stuff like that, but I don't have mushrooms anywhere else in my yard, and I water the same everywhere. And actually my backyard probably gets more, and I don't have any mushrooms back there. I kind of feel like the compost did that. But here I'm sifting it, because look at all these big particles you get in it. And I didn't want all that in my lawn to mow and stuff like that, but look at how nice this topsoil looks after sifting it. It's so nice and loose. And you know, I got probably, there's a nice good close-up of it. I mixed, I want to say it was somewhere around 20 bags of different compost and soils, and then two 50-pound bags, I think it was, of sand in that mix. And that's what I used to get that right there. So in leveling my Bermuda grass, I made a new mixture, and I didn't use the mushroom compost, and I didn't use chicken manure. I just used steer manure, compost, and sand. I just used 3 mixes. I don't have anything against chicken manure. I think it's probably really good to use in your mix, but this is the topsoil I'm using. I'm making my own. I'm using my sifter. It works really, really great. It took me about 30 minutes to do a whole, this is an 8 cubic foot cart right here. And when I made my sifter, my hand sifter, I didn't make it to fit on top of this because I didn't even have this when I did it. It was just by chance that it was exactly the perfect size to fit on this. And what I do is I basically got a couple of boards on the edges of my sifter, and I use a strap to hold it on. Yeah, see right here? So I got these boards right here. And these just basically, I have one here, I have one in the front, and I have one on the other side. And I basically use it so when I strap it, I think I have a picture of it right here. Yeah, so here it's strapped. I got my ratchet right down over here, and I just strap it to the handle. So here's my ratchet. My strap goes all the way around. I got my boards right here, and those just kind of help keep it clamped on there. And then I turn it on and shake it, and it just keeps my shaker on top of my cart. So if you're going to build one of these, I just would recommend you definitely make it to fit over something like this. Or you could just make it on a stand and have it fall to the ground. I just use this because I can cover it and then I can roll it to wherever I want to use it and spread it and all that kind of stuff. So this is my shaker, vibrating concrete motor. Back over here, you can get that on Amazon for like 30-40 bucks. Concrete vibrating shaker. If you got low cut grass, this is perfect for making your own soil and compost and stuff like that, getting rocks out of soil you're going to put in, whatever. All right, I'm going to make a quick little crossover here. So I need to do a little something. Okay, so because it's that time of year to do some reseeding, I wanted to talk about grass again. I have 3 different types of grass here. I'm going to talk about my Kentucky bluegrass first. So I have one here that's not, let me turn this off, hold on. So I have this one here that is not cut or trimmed. I just kind of wanted to give you a little visual of kind of how it looks when it's long. It's definitely a darker green than the bent grass, which is right here. And these are just in little 4-inch pots that I've been growing since last year. So the Kentucky bluegrass, I have it cut right here. And I'm just showing you to kind of give you a visualization of kind of what it looks like. And then the other things is, I don't know if you can kind of see down in here, but the Kentucky bluegrass kind of lays. And if you see right here, I don't know if you can, how well you can see that. I'm trying to get it in the picture here. But the blades come out from the stalk. It's hard for me to do this. The blades come out from the stalk and go sideways. Right here, if you can see it kind of laying down and growing sideways. So you get the blades that lay down a little bit. And I think that kind of gives you a little bit more reflectivity. Let's see. Off of the grass blade as well for some color and some striping and stuff like that. But this doesn't grow straight up. You know, I notice it at my low cut, it lays flatter, okay? And it is a lateral growing type of a grass. But I don't know if you can tell the difference in green. This here is a lot greener. You could literally tell the difference in the greenness. And I tried to put as good a light on here as possible. But anyways, that's Kentucky bluegrass. This is the Kentucky bluegrass I use. This is the seed information on it. It's called Fairway Blues. I get it from Arrow Seeds out of Nebraska. There's their name on the bottom. All their seeds are blue tag certified. When they make their blends, they don't have them recertified. They actually just, all the seed varieties they get in for their mixes come in as blue tag certified, and then when they mix them and they, you know, bag them and all that stuff, they just don't go through the recertification process on it because it's already came in blue certified. So going out, it's going to be the same. And it also saves money in how much they charge for the seeds. So that was Kentucky bluegrass. So here's the bent grass. And I'm showing you both of these because I want you to see the difference in color, but also look at how it looks when it's unmowed. This is not mowed at all. And you can see it's got a lot of thatch in it because this has been growing for over a year. I've also sprayed it with tenacity accidentally and it's come back. But this is bent grass grown long here. It's really fluffy. It's really full. I didn't trim these again. Oops, that's the wrong, I'm showing you the wrong one. This is the bent grass cut. And again, my sample is terrible because I have sprayed this with tenacity and it was a mistake. But it is growing back. It's really soft and it's very light green. It doesn't grow dark green. And in fact, I had just sprayed this with iron when I sprayed everything else. And I know you're probably not gonna be able to see this on there, but you can actually see the staining from the iron. And I've talked about this before, when you're adding iron, there is no miracle to when you add anything with iron that's liquid to your grass. There's no magic to it. It's staining that is making your grass look green within 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 30 minutes of applying it. It's just the oxidation of the iron staining your blades and causing it to look greener. It's impossible for anything you apply to your lawn, any kind of nutrient, it's impossible for it to immediately work and turn green. Your plant does not process nutrients that quickly. So there is no miracle to any iron product, any nitrogen product, any manganese product, or any sulfur product. Those are the only products, nutrients, that will green your lawn. I don't care what anybody else tells you about any product that they're putting on their lawn that makes their lawn green. If it has nitrogen, sulfur, manganese, or iron, nitrogen, sulfur, manganese, iron, that's what increases your chlorophyll production in your grass and makes it greener. And it's not going to work in 30 minutes, 4 hours, whatever. It's going to take overnight for your grass to be able to start producing those nutrients into a deeper color, darker color. So when you're applying any product that has any kind of nitrogen that's liquid, it's the staining that is immediately turning your lawn green. So Neighbor's Envy, anybody's product that is out there that they say, oh my God, this is a miracle because it turned my grass green instantly. I have a video, I'm going to show it really quick. I use regular ferrous sulfate heptahydrate. It's a water-soluble product, and that's what you want to use when you're applying an iron. It turns my grass green as I apply it. You can literally see it. So you need to stop falling into these traps with these YouTube people and their products and how they say they're a miracle or it's so amazing because it turns your grass green like right away. It's no trick, it's no magic, it's nothing special about anything in their product. It's just liquid iron doing what it does, oxidizing and staining. No nutrient is going to immediately turn your grass green. I'm going to say that again. No nutrient will immediately turn your grass green. It takes a minimum of 12 to 24 hours for your plant to be able to start taking the nutrients you're applying and start taking action, making changes, and turning a deeper, darker green. Anyways, this is bent grass. It's a great grass, but it is a lighter green. It's never going to get as dark green as Kentucky bluegrass. And then this is my fine fescue. It's kind of a little lighter of a shade of green, not much, but it grows more straight up. If you can see that right here, it's definitely greener. And I just trimmed this with scissors the other day, so it's kind of grown back. But look at it, it's very stalky. And fescues are a bunch grass. So bunch grass means it grows in clumps, and the clumps just get bigger. The Kentucky bluegrass is more of a spreading type of a grass, like the bent grass. The bent grass is a big time spreading grass, and it grows laterally, and it kind of has the same characteristics as the Kentucky bluegrass, how it grows these little stalks and then leaf blades will come out the side of it. And like I said, it's really hard for me to show you that here. But this is a fine fescue, and this is a shade grass. And these are the 3 grasses I use. I have that information right here. It's called Confident Shade. And same thing, I get it from Arrow Seeds. Arrow Seed is just the company I use. And in choosing a seed, do your research. I know everybody wants a deep dark green cultivar, but you need to choose a seed by what you're looking to do. If you got a shady area, you need to make sure you buy a seed that's going to be able to grow in shady areas. And then if you want a deep green, shaded green, you need to find a cultivar that's going to be able to do that in that area. Kentucky bluegrass is not going to grow in a shaded area. Okay, it's a deep dark green, but it's not going to grow in a shaded area. I chose my seeds based on what I wanted them for. I didn't choose them by their color or their color capabilities. I didn't buy Kentucky bluegrass to be deep dark green, like a lot of these other seed guys and YouTube channels are doing. They're promoting all these grasses that make your grass super dark green. Mine is about low mow. This is a low mow Kentucky bluegrass. It's fairway grass. It's produced specifically for fairways and to be cut 1/2 an inch or lower. Doesn't mean you can't, cut it at a higher rate, but it's made to be able to withstand and be more disease resistant and more resistant to light and all that, weeds and things like that, based on its mow height. So my Kentucky bluegrass, I don't have it to be super deep dark green, and that's not one of its capabilities as far as a mix goes. Its capability is about low mow. Fine fescue, shade mix. Creeping bent grass, putting green, extremely low mow. Oh my God, it's really great grass. I love bent grass. It feels so nice, especially at a very low cut. It gives a really good roll for the ball on a putting green. I'd love for my whole yard to be this, and mow it at maybe 8 millimeters, something like that, and have a putting green mowed at 2. I wish I can get my McLean to mow it too, but I can't. The other thing I have here is this is my my information from my Bermuda grasses, Tahoma 31. It's just the card that came with it that gives the instructions on what to do and how to get it planted and stuff. But Tahoma 31, that's my Bermuda grass I use. Just a couple key things I wanted to make sure I got across here. When you're looking for a seed, I know everybody's first thing is they want the greenest seed. If that's what you want, find you, a blend that's deep dark green. Personally, I don't care about the green color. Of course, it's nice to have, but I just want a thick, full lawn. And I want, stripes to be able to stand out, and I want it to be able to withstand my mowing habits. Me being a low mow person, I chose these blends right here, and I only have the fine fescue for shade, and it's just something that Arrow Seeds provides, and I ordered it from them and with my bluegrass, and I put it in my yard, and it seems to be working okay. So I know I'm running really long here, but I had a lot of content I wanted to get out, and like I said, I'm going to edit a lot of these videos. So talking about my McLean and where my frustration lies, I did talk about this before, and I'm just going to point it out again here. When I got my digital height cut height meter or adjuster here, my tool that lets me know how high I'm cutting, I found out some really important things. This bed knife is not oriented like I thought it was, and like McLean told me it was. And the height I was measuring it to cut at wasn't the height I was doing it. And I was doing this all based on what McLean told me. Because when I got this mower, I had no clue how to use it, how to adjust it, how to do anything on it. And at the time I got it, I searched YouTube for videos. I couldn't find any videos. And that was kind of what made me start this channel, was just information on the McLean. So when I got this, I was like, what's going on here? This is something different. And look at the bed knife. It's cutting up here. This is dragging on my lawn. And this bed knife thickness is more than, it's probably 3 millimeters, but even still, if you have it set all the way to the ground to cut, it drags. And that's what's causing a lot of my problems in my putting green right now, because when I leveled it and all that kind of stuff, I wanted to cut it lower. So I started setting it lower, but I also got a new bed knife. And I started having this problem where it was scalping my lawn. And I was like, what's going on? I've never had this problem before. So I stopped mowing it lower and I put it back to where I normally mowed it and adjusted it to, which I found out was 5 millimeters. But that's a whole different story. And that's just based on what McLean told me when I was adjusting how to adjust and how I determine the height. Anyways, even when I was mowing it at my normal height I was using before I got the new bed knife, I was having this problem. And it was driving me nuts. And it really, yeah. So I have 2 bed knives. I have a new one that I just got that I'm going to replace this one with. And what I'm going to do to this one, I'm modifying it. I just got a grinder stand for my grinder, and I'm going to get a new wheel for it, and I'm going to grind my bed knife. Now, this is my old bed knife, so this is just something I'm going to try and do. I'm going to try to grind this thing to make it so it's not going to drag in my lawn. This is going to be my last effort to keep this McLean for my putting green. Because if this doesn't work and I can't get it to mow properly after doing this, I'm not going to get rid of this, but I'm getting a new greens mower. And means I'm probably going to be dropping whatever it's going to be, $9 grand or whatever it is. I've already prepared myself for it. I'm going to do it. And by next season, if this doesn't work, I will have a new greens mower. But this right here is the problem why your McLean will drag if you try to put it on its lowest setting. And I have this custom roller on mine, which makes it so I can adjust it lower. With the stock roller, it's going to prevent you from being able to go any lower than probably 5 millimeters because it's going to start rubbing on the reel. And that's what's going to prevent you from going any lower. The roller is just bigger. It's like almost 3 inches. My roller is 2.5. So it gives me that capability of going lower with the cut, and the reel, the reel blades not hitting on the rollers. So that's what my new custom roller does. I have another roller that's actually bigger that allows it so I can cut higher. So this digital gauge taught me a lot of things about the McLean and a lot of reasons why I was having problems, especially just even in adjusting. I adjust this totally different now. I don't have my holder for my phone, but let's see here. Oh, I grabbed the wrong thing. So let's see here. So this is my roller. This is my McLean. Sorry, I'm just holding my phone here. And this is what's making it so Get my bed knife. So there's a bed knife right there. So you see how it sits lower? So when I put this down, I can't get my phone down far enough. But what I can do is, let's see if I can, when I push this, like I can't even push this on the carpet. I'm trying to push it. I can't push it because the bed knife is dragging. See, I'm barely able to push it, and I'm putting a lot of force on it to push it. My bed knife is dragging on the carpet down here, and this is just regular, indoor, outdoor carpet mat, very flat. And this is set right now at what I mow my putting green at, and I can't push it. If I put it on the concrete, that was why I had put it out here. I got too much stuff in my garage right now. You hear that? That's the bed knife dragging on the ground. And I'm just pushing it like I would when I'm mowing. And I know the concrete in my garage is not level. It's made to slope and all that kind of stuff for water. When I push this thing on my drive, I have a very small area here I'm pushing this on. Sorry. So I have to lift it to move it. I can't even push this on my driveway. To get it out to the yard because it drags on the driveway. I have like an exposed aggregate type driveway. And yeah, so I'm grinding my bed knife on the bottom here, and I'm trying to fix the problem. Worms. This is my dew whip. It's a greenskeeper dew whip. They use it for getting the dew off of greens, putting greens. And this is worm castings. I guess there you go, right there. Worm casting on my putting green. That's a terrible thing to have when you're mowing at 4 millimeters. So this is what I do. Right now I have 4 worm castings in my putting green. Here they are right here. So I use this to knock them down. And it basically just puts the worm casting material back in the soil. And worm castings, of course, are good for your soil, but worm castings are not good for mowing. And if you use tea seed meal, that's TEA, tea as in like what you drink, tea seed meal. It's a byproduct of when they compress or press tea seeds to get the oils out of them. It's called saponin. Saponin is an irritant to earthworms. It's the only thing that you can use that will literally get your earthworms out of the ground and kill them. If you don't want to kill earthworms, I can't help you. If you're going to deal with earthworm castings in a low mow, then you're going to need a dew whip. Dew whip is not going to work if you cut above 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 of an inch, because the grass is too thick. The only thing that's really going to work then is maybe doing a dethatching, kind of grind that up. But if you have a lot of worms, you're going to get a lot of castings. And if you mow your lawn, you're going to feel that when you mow. Your lawnmower is going to bounce around as you're mowing, and you're going to feel those lumps from those castings. I mean, some of these castings get really big. These here aren't that huge. But earthworms, man, they multiply. And they can multiply quickly. You could double an earthworm population in a couple of months. And if you have hundreds of earthworms, it's not long. So here's tea seed meal, the little brown spots, and these are the worms. These are popping out of the ground 5 minutes after I watered, after applying it. These worms are coming out of the ground, and this stuff irritates them. dries their skin out and they die. And then the birds come and they eat them and clean them up. And it's non-harmful. It's not going to hurt the birds, not going to hurt anything. This is a bunch of dead ones right here. Look at all these worms that have popped out. There's actually 7 or 8 in this picture that you can't necessarily see. But I just quickly wanted to give you a little demonstration on the dew whip and talk about tea seed meal. If you don't apply tea seed meal at a higher rate than what they recommend, it's not going to work for you. There's a YouTube guy out there that constantly talks about having earthworms and an earthworm problem. I tried to tell him he's using it wrong, but he doesn't want to listen to me, which is fine. It doesn't matter. He wants to deal with earthworm, that's fine. But he talks about having hundreds of them, and he picks them out. I used to rake them with a rake, but I got this dew whip. It's much quicker and easier, and it also helps stand the grass blades up before I'm going to mow. So I like the dew whip. It works really, really good. And if you don't want to kill worms, use the dew whip. It will knock these down really good. It will put that material back into your soil. It's a win-win. You get rid of the castings. You keep the bonus, the extra greatness from the castings and what they can do for your soil. And it does great. But if you have a lot of worms, I would really use tea seed meal. You're not going to kill all the worms in your lawn. And if you're one of those guys that's using a lot of these additives, these micronutrients and things like that do absolutely nothing for your lawn, it's going to add more micronutrients into, organisms into your lawn. But it doesn't do anything to really help your lawn grow better and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's lots of research studies and papers out there that talk about using humic, seaweed, all these different type of micronutrients, and it's basically a gimmick. They're conning you into buying something, and a lot of them are making their own products, or they're sponsoring products that they're trying to sell you. I always come back to, if you want to see some sort of a change or a reaction from putting down a product, only put down that product. Put humic down by itself. Put sea kelp down by itself. Any product, put phosphorus, just phosphorus down. No nitrogen, no potassium, and that's hard to find. You probably can't even find just a phosphorus product. You're going to see no change in your lawn. It's just what it is. I've said this before, I'll keep saying it. Nitrogen, iron, manganese, and sulfur. They are the only thing that is going to change the color of your lawn to be a deeper, darker green. No other nutrient is going to do that. I don't care what anybody tells you, what they're trying to sell you, what they're trying to tell you, hey, look at my lawn, this is what I do to my lawn, and look at how green it is. It has nothing to do with all the products they put on their lawn. It only has to do with 4 basic products: nitrogen, iron, sulfur, manganese. Research it if you don't believe me. Those are the only nutrients, macro and micro, that are going to do anything for your lawn. And sulfur is a requirement for proper nitrogen uptake. And last, your lawn, your grass, will only take up nutrients in a ratio of 4 nitrogen, 1 phosphorus, 2 potassium. That is the only ratio your grass is able to uptake. All the uptake of phosphorus and potassium is based on the nitrogen. So it doesn't matter if you're putting down a 13-13-13, 18-18-18, I don't care what it is. You can dump as much phosphorus and potassium in your lawn will not take up any more than the nitrogen allows it to by what's available. And the ratio again is 4:1:2. So there's absolutely no reason to apply anything stronger than a 4:1:2 to your lawn if you have a potassium or a phosphorus deficiency. And even still, if you have a potassium phosphorus deficiency, which is very unlikely because they're naturally occurring in your lawn. I have major phosphorus in my lawn. I've never even put phosphorus in my backyard And I have 2 soil samples that I can show you that will show that. I don't know where all the phosphorus come from. It is natural occurring, rain, rocks, organic material, breakdown in your soil. Maybe it's the pine trees and the pine needles in my backyard. I don't know. I don't know where all the phosphorus comes from, but I have so much phosphorus in my backyard. I've never put 1 drop of phosphorus in it, and I have major amounts. And the research says you could have a great looking lawn with a lack of phosphorus and it be a deficient in phosphorus. If your lawn's not showing a deficiency, you really don't need to add it. All this stuff that people are telling you about you got to put this down, you got to put this down. You don't. Your lawn needs nitrogen, and of course it needs phosphorus and potassium, but you don't need to add it unless you have a deficiency. It's going to be there. And because the grass only takes it up in a 4:1:2 ratio, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, it really doesn't matter. Put as much nitrogen as you want in. It's only going to take 1, 2 ratio of phosphorus and potassium. And a lot of people just don't understand this, and they just believe what they're being, indoctrinated to believe from these YouTube channels. And I stopped doing that. My grass is super green. I don't put any of these extra chemicals or any nutrients in my lawn. Have them for 2 years now, 2 seasons. And I get great results using nitrogen and iron. I use urea nitrogen, I mix it in water, and I spray it on with iron. Heptahydrate, ferrous sulfate heptahydrate. It's high in sulfur and iron. It's a heptahydrate, so that means it's water soluble. I mix it in my backpack sprayer. I see instant results. Let's see. Here we go. So this was just a test I did, I don't know, a while ago. Put these mats down. I sprayed a liquid iron on the right, and I sprayed my iron heptahydrate on the left. And I use these mats to cover an area. This is not scientific, of course. This is just something I did to do as a visual sample. And let's see, I'm fast forwarding here to try to get through all this BS. And here you go. This is just a showing of what it did to my lawn. And those results are pretty much immediate. So here it is after it's grown, and it's got a long growth on it. And this is kind of what it did to my backyard. It turned it a pretty nice green. And this is just kind of getting later and later, but the effects last for a while. But once the staining kind of runs out, the iron in the soil starts kicking in to help with that extra green. And it's going to last for about a month or so, a couple weeks. So I just wanted to show this. This is why your grass turns green immediately when you use a liquid iron product. Granular iron, don't use it. It's not going to work. It's not going to do anything. There's very few circumstances where that will actually help you. But a granular iron is worthless. Ironite is worthless. Everybody think ironite works and greens their lawn. And again, sulfur. Sulfur in ironite is what greens your lawn, and that little bit of nitrogen. There's like 33% sulfur in ironite, and sulfur is what's going to help green your lawn. The iron in it oxidizes out within 30 minutes to an hour of applying it. It actually becomes worthless. Now, where a granular iron product will work is trying to get rid of moss. Because once iron hits moss, even if it oxidizes out, the iron in the product gets into the moss immediately, gets absorbed by it, and will start dying. And that's why it turns black also. but moss will basically die as soon as you put iron on it. And I use liquid, that's why I don't get moss on my lawn. But if you use a granular iron product for moss, that's why that kills the moss, and it doesn't really green your lawn because it's just straight iron. Try that test. Put a bunch of moss out that's got a ferrous sulfate or any kind of iron in it. It will kill your moss. It won't green your lawn. Try that test. So I showed this, but this is my soil tests. And I know they're not, the same. The process is different and they don't measure exactly the same. But when you start comparing, the numbers to each other, like the potassium here, my potassium is almost 100 points above on the soil kit Malic 3 testing, high, and on the My Soil, it says my potassium is optimal. I don't know how that is, but whatever. Phosphorus, same thing. My phosphorus was, for where it's supposed to be, it says on the Malic 3 testing 30. It's at 157. On the My Soil, yeah, it says it's high. But the Malic 3 test says it's 5 times above what it's supposed to be. On the My Soil test, it's a little more than twice. It's like 2.5 times higher than what it says is the range. If you look at these numbers here. My only point here, if you're using a My Soil test, it's absolutely worthless. It's not giving you accurate readings. It's not giving you accurate numbers. And the nitrogen number it gives you, there's not even a proven method of measuring the amount of nitrogen in soil. So I don't even know where they get that number from. So there's just a lot of things about the My Soil test. It's just not a proven method. The ion resin exchange, that process that they use, totally unproven to even work or even be accurate. It's actually more proven not to be accurate than it is to be accurate. And this test here shows these are the same soil samples done on the same date, sent at the same time, received at the lab the same time. I will say this, My Soil took a week and a half to give me results from when they received it. Malic 3, soilkit.com, they received it on Wednesday. I had my results on Friday, 2 days after they received it. My Soil received theirs on Wednesday. I didn't get the results back until the following Thursday, 8 days. It wasn't a week and a half, sorry, it was 8 days. And these guys are in Western Washington, where I sent it to. The soilkit.com is in Georgia. I had to send it all the way across country. Yeah, I sent it 2 days because I wanted them to both arrive on the same day, and I wanted everything to be identical for the testing, from the samples to the date they were sent to the date they were received. And the only thing I couldn't control was how long it took them to process the results. So My Soil Kit, I don't care how many YouTube channels tell you to use it, don't use it. Yard Mastery, same thing, don't use theirs. Anything that uses the ion exchange resin, which is the little thing of water that has a little pouch in it, all that does is absorb the nutrients out of the water, and the theory is that it's absorbing the nutrients out of the water. And it's basically a worthless test. I mean, you might as well take your $30 and throw it in the trash, as far as I see it. So I have on here, I did 2 samples. This other sample I just put up on the, what is that, the right or the left? It has a pH of 6.76. That sample was done in 2023. And I'm just kind of comparing these two here because I kind of want to show you, look at my phosphorus. This is the craziest thing. Like I told you, I have never added phosphorus to my backyard ever. This is my backyard samples two different ones, 2 years apart. My phosphorus is 20.78 2 years ago. Today it's 27.17. It's higher, you know, okay. Same thing with potassium. Never, ever, ever added potassium in my backyard. I only added nitrogen, and at that, I barely even add that. Look at how much more potassium I have. That's crazy. Sulfur, okay, this is the even funnier part. So sulfur, 2 years ago, my sulfur was higher at 9.0. The iron that I use in my backyard is iron heptahydrate. It's called Extreme Green. It actually has like, what is it, 20%? It's got a high sulfur content in it. It's got a lot more than I actually want back there, but you know, I know sulfur works with the nitrogen to get in. Look at, I'm using more sulfur than I used to use 2 years ago. This is before I ever even put nitrogen or anything on my yard. My sulfur is lower. And I add iron to my backyard at least every 6 weeks with sulfur, and like heavy sulfur. You know, how is that even possible? The iron, if you look at the results on here, so it was 26.39 2 years ago. Right now it's 34. I mean, that seems about right because I do add a lot of iron, but how come my iron went up so high, but my sulfur went down so low? The rest of these numbers I don't even care about. I don't care about zinc. I don't care about copper. I don't care about boron. You know, it says my boron's low and my magnesium is low. My magnesium was low 2 years ago. Right now, it's actually more in tune because it's at 27.7 and 28 to 67 is normal. You know, and look up here. It says my sulfur is low right now. How is my sulfur low? I add sulfur 4 to 6 times a week, every 6 weeks. So my soil, you know, it's a bunch of garbage as I see it. Yard Mastery, it's terrible. Let me see. Let me pull up my soil here real quick. Oops, wrong one. There it is right there. Let me scroll down. Doesn't it have sulfur on here? Did I miss it? So this doesn't have sulfur on it. And you know, I trust the Mehlich 3 testing more because there's actually a couple of different nutrients that soil tests can't measure. And sulfur might be one of them. I don't remember off the top of my head. I would have to go back and look at the data on that. I know realistically, pH, phosphorus, and potassium are really the only main things that the soil testing, especially Mehlich 3, is able to really give you accurate readings on. A lot of these other things are not even really accurate. The numbers they're giving you, there's no real data to show that it's even accurate. So that's that. I want to talk about evapotranspiration really quick. You know, when it's hot, it's really good to know what the evapotranspiration number is. You know, like right now in Seattle for the week, it's only 1.808, which is like an inch. Now that doesn't mean you need to add an inch extra of water. And I think when I've talked about this before, I've never really been specific about that. This is just a guide to let you know that you need to water a little more. You know, maybe a half of an inch extra, you know, maybe 3/4 if you want. But the point of the evapotranspiration is it's just a guide to let you know what the temperatures are like and how they're going to affect your watering of your grass. That's really important to know because if you don't water enough, if you think you're putting 2.5 inches of water on your lawn a week, realistically you're not. You're putting less than that. And then you might get some discoloration, some brown spots, you know, some areas that are getting light, you know, lacking water and stuff like that. And you don't know why. You're like, hey, I've been putting 2.5 inches of, you know, water on my lawn. Why is it doing this? So that's just a good reference number to let you know kind of where the temperatures are going to be affecting your watering and that sort of thing. So that's evapotranspiration. I like to follow it just because if it's going to be hot next week, like this week is supposed to be a little bit warmer. 1 inch isn't that bad, but it can get as high as 2 inches in some area, which that's going to be important for you. Because if I had a 2-inch evapotranspiration going on, I definitely would want to add at least an inch extra of water, or bump my watering up. So that's evapotranspiration. Yeah, I think I've pretty much covered all the topics I was looking to cover. My bottom line was I just wanted to get information out there. I'm working on putting some content out. I've always said I was going to do this, but I never really have. I do these lives, and I only do the lives just because it's something I like doing. I get up in the morning, and I like watching stuff Sunday morning when I get up early. I get up at 4 every day. It's just kind of something I do. And I start watching videos or playing games on my tablet or whatever. And it kind of motivates me when I see some of these, lawn videos that I watch. It motivates me to get out in the yard. Saturday is normally my day to work in the yard, hardcore and get a lot of things done. But when I see it on Sunday, man, it makes me go out and mow again. I mow Saturday and Sunday usually. Now, I didn't mow yesterday because I was doing Doug's yard. But I'm also doing the modification on my bed knife, and I'm going to do that today. I'm kind of looking forward to doing that because I kind of want to see what happens. And like I said, I have a brand new bed knife, so I'm not worried about tearing this bed knife up. And I even have another one after that. So I got myself into 2 yard renos for fall here. I did 2 in the spring, my son and my neighbors. They both turned out good, but they're not hardcore lawn people. Their yards look a lot better than they did. Wilson had the grub problem and the moss problem. We took care of all that. I'm helping him control weeds, and I just made that area of his yard look a lot better. It's just one of his side yards. Maybe next year, spring, we'll do his front yard. It's a little bit bigger. Doug across the street, his yard is not huge. It's only like 1,000 square feet, so I didn't have a real problem helping him. Let me see here. I have a so right down here. This is where this is where Doug lives. He's right across the street from me, and this is actually what his yard looked like a couple days ago. I totally had killed it, and I had been dethatching it and blade aerating it to loosen up the soil to get as much of the grass out as possible. Now he ordered like 7 yards of dirt, and we spread that. He had a lot of low spots, and he had a spot where a lot of water was kind of draining into and pooling and creating a lot of mud and stuff like that in his yard. It actually was kind of like right in this area right down here. Sorry, my finger's coming out. But that's my next project that I was working on. It wasn't huge. And then I have my neighbor Kathy around the corner and across the street from Wilson. I just simply flagged her down one day when she was driving by while I was out mowing. I said, hey, Kathy, I've been telling you to put that pre-emergent down on your lawn to take care of the POA, because she was complaining about POA in her lawn. And she takes care of her lawn. She's the lawn care person in her family. And she's the one that goes out and mows it, takes care of it. She loves doing it. She actually used to have a California trimmer, but she said it was too much work for her. So I just flagged her down while she was driving by. I just said, hey, I just wanted to remind you, hey, it's time to put down that pre-emergent again. Maybe do Spectracide this year, this time, because in spring you did Bio Advance. So go get, and she looks at me and she's like, well, I kind of noticed you're doing Doug's yard. Can you do my yard? Can we just get rid of all that and start over? She says, I've got a lot of POA, and I just So I told her I would help her do her yard. So I actually sprayed it last weekend and to start killing it. So I told her, if we're going to do it, we got to do it now. So if you really want to do this, you got to tell me right now, because I need to get out there. I need to get it killed to get it done, so that in 3 weeks from now we can get out there and we can get it reseeded. She talked to her husband. Her husband came over and talked to me, and I told them what we need to do, and they said okay. So I was out there that night with my backpack sprayer full of glyphosate, and I sprayed it with some glyphosate. I'm gonna have to spray it again. I could see it still looks like it needs a little bit. Her lawn was actually really nice, but she did have a lot of POA. So I just try to remind, my neighbors who care and are trying to take care of their lawns, my son and all that kind of stuff. Hey, pre-emergent, it's time. Get that stuff out. You want to start working on POA. You don't want to have POA. I don't want you to have POA because I don't want it coming in my yard. My other neighbor over here, he doesn't really do anything on his lawn, which is fine. Some people don't want to pay the water bill. And I have another family or a couple that came by, and they just asked me, hey, who's your landscaper? Who did your yard for you? And I just said, me. And they were like, really? And I was like, yeah. Because they wanted to know how much it cost to have my yard done, because they want to do their yard. And they said, can you help us, or come take a look at our yard and maybe help us get our yard going? And I just said, hey, if you're not willing to water, or you're not going to water, there's no point in doing your yard. If you're going to water though, and you're going to take care of it, do it. I can help you, and these people had it's like 4,000 square feet. It's a really big yard. I went over there and looked at it, and I was like, holy mackerel. But they haven't been home. I told them I'd come over last Saturday, and I went over last Saturday to look at it, and they said they would be home, and they weren't home. So I didn't talk to them. Went over there yesterday, tried to talk to them again. They still weren't home, but their lawn is completely dormant. It's totally brown. They don't water it, and maybe they don't water it because it doesn't look good. That's fine. But if they want to water it and they want to take care of it and they want it to look good, I will help them. They asked me how much I would charge to help them do their yard, and it's not my business. I'm not a landscaper. I'm not a yard. I just do it as a hobby for myself. It keeps me out of trouble. Well, I try to help it keep me out of trouble. So anyways, I got 2 projects going on. I'm going to film both of them and show the process that I did and I went through and the results. Growing grass is so simple. It's really basic. And my number one thing I'm trying to get across to people is you don't got to do all this stuff. Some nitrogen, spray it with some iron, some weed killer, pre-emergent, post-emergent. Nutrients are the last thing that you add to your yard, like phosphorus and potassium and all those sorts of things. If you're starting to see there's a deficiency going on in your yard, you look it up. Hey, why are my grass blades turning green, or why are they turning brown? You Google Lens it. You take a picture of it, and it says, hey, that looks like a phosphorus deficiency, potassium. Or you do a soil test because you think maybe it's low. That's the last step when you're trying to figure out any problem in your lawn. The first steps that you need to look into when you have issues in your lawn are, do I have enough water? Is one of my sprinkler heads broke? Is my timer messed up? Did something happen? The power go out and things, you need to look into water. You need to look in, am I getting the light it needs? Something happened. I got a tree that's shading it too much. What's going on with the light? What about temperatures? Has there been a big drastic temperature change? Is it really hot? That's why I talk about evapotranspiration and just kind of following it so you know what's going to be going on the next week. Do I need to add more water? Damage, pest damage, weed damage, those sorts of things. Do you have something going on there? And then after you've kind of checked a lot of these things here, you're going to get to, well, maybe I have a nutrient deficiency. If everything else is doing good, maybe I'm having a nutrient problem. Maybe there's a deficiency going on. Maybe I should do a soil test. Yeah, do a soil test. If you've eliminated all those previous, things, and they're all good, get a Malik 3 test, soilkit.com. You can get them at Site 1, Wilco. You do your sample, you send it in, they do a Malik 3 test on it. It's the best test you can get done. You can also contact your county, your local extension at your county that will talk about soil samples. You can look up on the internet and just say, hey, where can I get soil testing done in my county? Your county might do it free for you, or whatever. But there's many ways you can get a soil test done. Just don't use the My Soil Kit. It's not going to give you correct information. And I just recommend doing a proven method, whether it's a Malik 1, Malik 2, or Malik 3 test. Those are kind of the standard tests done by researchers when they're doing projects, and they use Malik 1, Malik 2, or Malik 3, depending upon what kind of results they're looking for. What are they going after? Because some of those tests provide a better accuracy on a certain type of nutrient or a certain whatever they're testing. Malik 3 is overall the general testing procedure that a lot of researchers and people use and trust and depend on. And that's what I would recommend. Find a place, soilkit.com, it's SoilKit365. That's a website you can go to, you can order a test, they'll send it to you, do your sample, send it back to them. That's going to be a couple-week process because they got to send it to you and then you got to send it back. But you can go to Wilco, you can go to Site 1 and get that test and send it in and speed up the process a little bit. They are in Georgia, so you got to take into consideration the amount of time it's going to take to get there. And then your local county extension, talking to them, looking on their website, just do a Google search. Maybe they will do it for you for free. In King County, they will, but my city does not participate in it, so I can't get a free test. But I don't mind paying the $30 for Soil Kit to do the test. And they post your results online. And, like I said, it took me a week, but I did 2-day air send it to Georgia. And I work for FedEx, not Express, but I work for a FedEx division. And I get a discount on shipping, so I sent it 2-day. It wasn't expensive at all. And I was willing to do it. And like I said, I don't even do soil testing for any other reason than just to show what the differences are, what the comparison is in the results, and why this test is a better, more accurate test than this other test. And I'm talking about My Soil. My Soil, if you have one, throw it away and get a soil kit or any kind of Malik 3 test done. Anyways, I know I did this extra long today, but like I said, I'm breaking out some videos into some individuals off of this and posting them as individual videos. I know it's Labor Day weekend, everybody's out doing their thing, so I hope you had a great one. Maybe you learned something from my video. I hope there was some information I put across here. And like I said, a lot of the information I put out, I do research it. I do fact check it for accuracy as much as possible. I know sometimes I may misspeak and say something wrong. Not that I meant to say it wrong, but it came out wrong. That does happen. I've seen that in some of my videos. Not intentional. But my bottom line here is real researched information. And I don't care what some of these other channels talk about that say that they're fact-based, science-based. I'm a golf course superintendent and I've taken care of golf courses for 30 years and I know what I'm talking about. I don't care about any of that. All those channels at some point put across some BS that you just can't trust. So have a great day. Thanks for watching. See you next time.